Are looking for virality. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think we're looking at Caitlin Clark's ad being one of the more viral things we've seen in a long, long time. Like if you look at the Instagram post on Nike, as far as I'm aware, the Instagram post has like 30 million views.
The ad dropped at midnight, and by 12:01 the entire WNBA ecosystem was shaking. Screens lit up. Phones vibrated nonstop. A single Nike spot, 30 seconds of sound, sweat, and silence, had just rewritten the power map of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark didn't just appear on the screen. She detonated it. Records shattered instantly. View counts climbed faster than playoff highlights. Jersey sales spiked so violently that retailers froze systems to keep up. Nike's servers strained. Comment sections flooded. And somewhere behind the glow of studio lights, rivals stared at their phones with panic tightening their chests. Because this wasn't just an endorsement. This was history being claimed in real time. Caitlin's face filled the screen as a voice whispered about pressure, legacy, and being told to wait your turn. Then came the numbers. Milestones no WNBA player had ever touched in advertising reach, engagement, and revenue impact. Not close. Not comparable. Untouchable. The final frame said everything without saying anything at all. Nike didn't crown her. They built around her. Inside locker rooms across the league, conversations stopped mid-sentence. Angel Reese scrolled in silence, jaw set. Paige Buchers watched the clip twice, then looked away. Veterans felt the ground shift. Executives felt control slipping. Because one ad had just done what seasons of debate never could. It separated star from system. And Caitlin didn't celebrate. She simply posted one line. Still just getting started. That's when the panic truly began. The moment felt sudden, but the tension had been fermenting for years, long before Nike ever rolled a camera. Caitlin Clark didn't wake up famous overnight. She woke up watched. Every step of her rise carried whispers, comparisons, and quiet resentment that followed her from college gyms into WNBA arenas. She wasn't just scoring points. She was pulling gravity toward herself, bending attention, money, and narrative in ways the league had never experienced before. From the start, the league loved her numbers but feared her pull. Veterans remembered how stardom used to work. Earned slowly, shared carefully, filtered through tradition. Caitlin broke that rhythm. Cameras lingered on her warm-ups. Reporters asked about her even after games she didn't play in. Crowds wore her name in cities that weren't hers. For some players, it felt inspiring. For others, it felt like displacement. Angel Reese had built her own empire on grit, confrontation, and unapologetic presence. Paige Buchers carried the league's golden child aura, polished and patient. Aaliyah Boston represented steadiness, respect, and quiet dominance. They all had brands. They all had deals. But Caitlin's attention curve wasn't linear. It was vertical. Behind closed doors, conversations shifted. Marketing departments started using new language. Conversion, reach, crossover. The metrics didn't lie, and that's what hurt most. Caitlin wasn't being pushed. She was being pulled by audiences the league had chased for decades. Executives told themselves this was good for everyone. But players felt the imbalance in real time. Locker room jokes sharpened. Compliments came with pauses. Praise felt conditional. Some stars were asked to be patient, to wait for the right moment. Caitlin was never asked to wait. Her moment kept arriving early, uninvited, undeniable. That created emotional fractures no press release could heal. Nike noticed first. Not just the points or the highlights, but the way people leaned in when Caitlin spoke, the way clips traveled outside basketball spaces. She didn't need controversy to trend. She didn't need rivalry to sell. She sold inevitability. That scared people. The meetings happened quietly. Nike executives studied historical data and realized something uncomfortable. No WNBA athlete had ever crossed into this tier of cultural velocity. Not consistently. Not globally. Caitlin wasn't following a path. They were building one around her. When word started leaking that Nike was preparing something unprecedented, the league buzzed. Agents called each other. Players asked questions they didn't get answers to. The fear wasn't jealousy, it was erasure. If one player reset the ceiling, what happened to everyone who'd been climbing toward the old one? Caitlin felt it too. The stares lingered longer. Teammates congratulated her with careful smiles. Social media turned colder, sharper, dissecting her every move. She was praised publicly and challenged privately. She became a symbol without asking to be one. The night before the ad launch, she barely slept. Not because of nerves, but because she knew what was coming. She knew records would fall. She knew rivals would panic. She knew the league would have to confront a truth it had been avoiding. The era of equal exposure was over, replaced by an era of undeniable pull. The ad wasn't just a campaign. It was a declaration. And as midnight approached, every unresolved emotion, envy, pride, fear, admiration, sat on the edge of ignition, waiting for 30 seconds to change everything. The explosion came fast and ugly, exactly the way everyone feared. By sunrise, the Nike ad wasn't just breaking records, it was humiliating them. Analysts confirmed it within hours. The spot had already surpassed every previous WNBA-related campaign in first-day engagement, revenue projection, and global reach. Not women's basketball history, Nike basketball history. The comparison wasn't to peers anymore. It was to legends. And that's when the conflict turned personal. Group chats across the league went dead silent, then erupted all at once. Players compared screenshots. Agents demanded explanations. Marketing reps tried to soothe egos with rehearsed lines about long-term vision. No one was soothed. Because Caitlin Clark hadn't just won. She had reset the scoreboard. Inside one locker room, Angel Reese slammed her phone down so hard it cracked the screen. "So this is what they meant by growing the game," she snapped, voice echoing. No one answered her. Some nodded. Some looked away. Everyone understood what she meant. Growth suddenly had a face. And it wasn't shared. Paige Buchers watched the ad again, slower this time. She noticed the details others missed. The framing, the silence before Caitlin's stare, the way Nike positioned her not as a player, but as a moment. Paige exhaled sharply. She'd been promised her time would come back. Promised patience would be rewarded. Now she wasn't so sure patience still mattered. Executives felt the pressure immediately. Emergency calls stacked back to back. One team owner demanded to know why his star wasn't marketed like that. Another warned the league office that imbalance was becoming a liability. Kathy Engelbert's name was whispered with urgency. This wasn't just jealousy. It was fear of losing control over the narrative. Because Caitlin hadn't asked permission.
And the fact is that this is only in 2 days. It is the 27th. The reality is that you could be looking at upwards of 40, 50 million views on this post.
She didn't issue a statement clarifying that everyone wins. She didn't thank the league. She didn't soften the moment. She let the numbers speak. And the numbers were screaming. Then came the first shocking twist. A leaked internal email surfaced online, sent hours after the ad dropped. It was real, confirmed, and devastating. "We are officially in a single-axis star economy," it read. "We need to manage fallout with other athletes immediately." Single axis. Those two words set the internet on fire. Players read it like a verdict. Fans read it like proof. The league tried to deny it, but the damage was irreversible. Because now it wasn't just Caitlin breaking records. It was the league admitting, privately, that she had broken the model. Locker room tension spiked into hostility. One veteran confronted a coach mid-practice, demanding to know why her sponsor meetings had been delayed until after the Caitlin wave. Another player walked out of a media availability after being asked, again, about Clark instead of her own performance. Cameras caught it all. Clips spread like gasoline. And Caitlin? She stayed quiet. That silence drove everyone insane. Because behind the scenes, Nike doubled down. Another shock followed. Insiders reported that the ad wasn't a one-off. It was the opening chapter of a long-term global campaign, multi-year, multi-market, built entirely around Caitlin as the face of modern basketball. Not women's basketball. Basketball. Rivals didn't panic anymore. They spiraled. Angels Camp released a pointed statement about respecting multiple paths to greatness. Paige's supporters flooded timelines reminding everyone of her resume. Fans started choosing sides aggressively, dragging players into debates they never asked for. The league fractured into camps. Those who believed this was evolution, and those who believed it was erasure dressed as progress. Then the confrontation everyone feared finally happened. At a closed WNBA event, two stars crossed paths backstage. Words were exchanged, quiet at first, then sharp. Someone mentioned handed crowns. Someone else shot back about earned gravity. Witnesses said the room went cold. Security stepped closer. Phones stayed down, but the story leaked anyway. Because everything leaked now. The first shocking twist wasn't just the email. It was the realization that Caitlin Clark had become the axis around which every insecurity, ambition, and resentment rotated. And she hadn't done anything wrong to get there. She had simply been undeniable. And as rivals scrambled to reclaim space, the league faced a brutal truth. You can't control history when it arrives early. Especially when it wears Nike, breaks records, and doesn't look back. Because the next move by the league, by the rivals, or by Caitlin herself was about to turn panic into something far more dangerous. Open war. The panic didn't cool down, it evolved into strategy. Within 48 hours, the league stopped pretending this was organic. Meetings multiplied behind closed doors, not about games, but about containment. Marketing directors, team presidents, and league officials crowded into emergency calls where one question drowned out all others. How do you rebalance a sport when one player has already tipped it over? Because Caitlin Clark didn't just dominate attention, she redirected it. Ticket prices shifted overnight. Broadcast graphics quietly adjusted. Camera crews lingered on her reactions even when she wasn't involved in the play. Other stars felt it immediately, like oxygen thinning. They weren't losing games. They were losing gravity. And then came the escalation. Nike rolled out Phase 2 without warning. New visuals appeared in major cities: billboards, transit ads, digital takeovers. Caitlin's image everywhere, stripped down, confrontational.
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there? Hey, Caitlin, how about from here?
Come on, guys.
She can't make it. No chance.
Caitlin, from me to left? You got it.
I'm not even gonna ask.
Hey, Caitlin, from here might be the president. Am I right?
Fearless. No slogans about equality. No group shots. Just her. It felt deliberate. It felt defiant. Rivals stopped pretending to be calm. Angel Reese went live late one night, eyes blazing, voice tight with controlled fury. She never said Caitlin's name, but everyone knew. She talked about respect, about history, about how greatness didn't start last season. Fans clipped every sentence, argued every pause. Some praised her fire. Others accused her of jealousy. The comments turned brutal. Paige Buchers took a different route, too quiet, too composed. But insiders noticed something off. She skipped an appearance she'd committed to for months. Her camp cited schedule conflicts, but whispers said she'd been asked to react to Caitlin's ad and refused. Silence became its own message. Inside locker rooms, the tension hardened. Players snapped at each other over small things: missed rotations, late passes, media questions. Everyone felt watched. Everyone felt measured against an impossible standard that had appeared overnight. Coaches tried to refocus teams on basketball, but basketball felt secondary now. The real game was visibility. Then the second major twist hit, and it blindsided everyone. A leaked pitch deck surfaced online. Not from Nike, from the league. It outlined a proposed visibility equity initiative, complete with charts, projections, and red flag language about overconcentration of star power. The solution? Redistribute promotional focus. Limit singular dominance. Elevate collective narratives. Fans read it like a muzzle. Players read it like a threat. The internet exploded. Because the implication was clear. Caitlin's rise wasn't just uncomfortable, it was being managed. Not celebrated. Managed. The league denied it immediately, but the slides were real. Dated. Branded. Someone had approved them. Caitlin saw it like everyone else. She didn't respond. That restraint unsettled people more than any clapback ever could. Behind the scenes, pressure mounted on her camp. Requests poured in, joint appearances, shared spots, softened messaging. A league representative floated the idea of a unity moment. Caitlin listened, then declined. Politely, firmly. That refusal escalated everything. Because it forced the league's hand. A last-minute change appeared in an upcoming national broadcast. An altered segment lineup that reduced Caitlin's spotlight in favor of a roundtable of stars. Fans noticed instantly. They called it out. Clips circulated comparing drafts to final cuts. Accusations of suppression trended. And then came the confrontation no one expected. At a players-only event meant to cool tensions, voices rose instead. What started as a conversation about media fatigue turned into something raw and personal. One player accused the league of using Caitlin as a shield. Another accused her peers of resenting success they couldn't stop. Names were said. Lines were crossed. Witnesses said Caitlin didn't speak much. But when she did, the room fell silent. She didn't defend the ad. She didn't talk numbers. She looked around and said calmly, "I didn't ask to be smaller so others could feel bigger." That sentence leaked within hours. It became a rallying cry and a dividing line. Some players felt exposed. Others felt validated. Fans picked sides harder than ever. Commentators argued whether Caitlin was right or reckless. The word fracture started appearing in serious analysis, not just hot takes. Then Nike made its boldest move yet. A teaser dropped, no context, no date. Just a black screen, Caitlin's voice, and one line. "This isn't the peak." The league panicked. Executives scrambled to find out what was coming. Teams worried about being overshadowed again. Rivals felt the walls closing in. Because this wasn't just about dominance anymore. It was about inevitability. The second major twist wasn't the pitch deck. It wasn't the altered broadcast. It was the realization spreading through the league like a slow burn. Caitlin Clark wasn't playing the same game anymore. She wasn't chasing approval. She wasn't competing for space. She had crossed into a tier where the system reacted to her, not the other way around. And as the escalation peaked, one terrifying thought settled in across locker rooms, boardrooms, and fan bases alike. If the league couldn't control the narrative now, what happens when Caitlin decides to speak next? The fallout was instant, merciless, and impossible to contain. By the next morning, the WNBA no longer controlled the conversation. The fans did. Timelines were flooded with side-by-side comparisons, screenshots of numbers, clips of reactions, and receipts pulled from years ago that suddenly felt prophetic. Commentators who once preached patience were forced to pick sides. Neutrality became a liability. Silence became suspicious. Everywhere Caitlin Clark's name appeared, emotions followed like a storm. Some fans celebrated openly, calling it long overdue recognition, proof that women's basketball had finally cracked the mainstream ceiling. Others were furious, not at Caitlin, but at a system they believed was choosing one star and daring everyone else to accept it. Jerseys burned. Jerseys sold out. Both happened at the same time. Angel Reese felt the pressure first. Her every post was dissected, every emoji treated like a coded message. When she liked a tweet criticizing manufactured icons, headlines erupted within minutes. When she unliked it, that became news too. Fans accused her of jealousy. Defenders accused the league of pushing her into a villain role she never asked for. The emotional toll showed: shorter answers, sharper tone, visible frustration during games. Paige Buchers faced a different kind of backlash. Her quiet suddenly felt loud. Analysts questioned whether patience had cost her leverage. Fans begged her to fight back, as if stardom were a debate you could win with words. She smiled through interviews, but those close to her noticed the strain. The comparisons were relentless, and no amount of grace could soften them. Inside arenas, the atmosphere changed. Crowds buzzed differently when Caitlin stepped on the floor. Cheers were louder. Boos were sharper. Cameras followed her even during timeouts. Other players noticed and resented it, not because they hated her, but because invisibility hurts when you've earned presence. The league office was drowning. Calls from sponsors stacked up, some thrilled by numbers, others worried about optics. One executive reportedly asked, "Are we growing the game or breaking it?" No one had an answer. Attempts to calm the situation only inflamed it. Carefully worded statements were torn apart for what they avoided saying. Former legends entered the fray. Some praised Caitlin as inevitable. Others warned that concentrating attention was dangerous. Old debates resurfaced, about respect, about who built the league, about who benefits when the spotlight narrows. The past collided with the present, and no one walked away clean. Emotionally, players were cracking. One veteran admitted she cried in her car after a game. Not because of a loss, but because a reporter asked her 3 Caitlin questions before mentioning her stat line once. Another snapped at a fan who shouted Clark's name during free throws. That clip went viral too, and Caitlin felt it all. She saw the praise curdle into expectation. She felt admiration twist into resentment. Friends warned her to be careful. Critics warned her to be humble. Everyone wanted something from her: clarification, comfort, restraint, explanation. She gave none. That refusal fueled the chaos. Fans began arguing not just about Caitlin, but about what women's basketball was supposed to look like. Was it collective or individual? Was dominance allowed, or only when evenly distributed? The debate turned philosophical, then personal. The pressure reached its emotional peak when a young player broke down on a post-game podium, admitting she felt invisible no matter how well she played. Her words hit like a gut punch. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This was human. And yet, the numbers didn't slow. The Nike ad kept climbing. Merchandise sales set new benchmarks. Viewership followed Caitlin wherever she went. The proof was undeniable, and that made the pain sharper. You couldn't argue with reality. You could only react to it. By the end of the week, the league felt fractured. Not by hatred, but by fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of being overshadowed. Fear that the future had arrived without waiting for consensus. Players looked at each other differently now, measuring space, wondering where they fit in a world that suddenly felt tilted. And hovering over everything was one unanswered question that refused to go away. Was this moment the breakthrough women's basketball had been chasing for decades? Or the spark that would tear it apart from the inside? No one knew, because the final word still hadn't been spoken. And everyone was watching Caitlin Clark, waiting to see whether she would finally step into the noise, or let it tear itself apart without her saying a single word. The final turn didn't arrive with a post, a press conference, or a carefully staged interview. It arrived through absence, and that absence rattled the league harder than any statement ever could. Caitlin Clark disappeared. No social posts. No media appearances. No Nike follow-up. The teaser stayed frozen in time, unanswered, like a held breath that refused to release. Fans refreshed endlessly. Analysts speculated wildly. Rivals braced for impact that never came. Silence stretched so long it became unbearable. And behind that silence, something far bigger was moving. League insiders leaked that Caitlin had declined 3 major appearances in 1 week. Opportunities most players would never see in a lifetime. Not postponed. Declined. No reschedule. No explanation. That's when executives started to panic, because this wasn't just restraint. It was leverage. Nike knew. They had built the campaign assuming momentum would snowball publicly. Instead, Caitlin pulled it inward, creating a vacuum so loud it bent everything toward her. The data didn't slow. Engagement didn't dip. In fact, it spiked. People weren't reacting to content anymore. They were reacting to the lack of it. Then the real twist surfaced. A confidential memo leaked from a league advisory meeting, stamped preliminary, but explosive. It outlined contingency plans if the primary visibility driver became uncooperative with shared narrative goals. The language was chillingly clinical. The implication was worse. Primary visibility driver. They weren't talking about a player. They were talking about a power source. Fans read it and exploded. Players read it and went quiet. Because now it was clear, Caitlin Clark wasn't just changing the game. She was holding a mirror to it, exposing how quickly celebration turns into concern when control slips. Behind the scenes, pressure mounted on her camp to speak, to soften, to reassure, to say this wasn't intentional. But Caitlin didn't move. She trained. She stayed off camera. She let everyone else talk themselves into knots. That restraint fractured alliances. Some rivals felt relief, hoping the storm would pass. Others felt dread, sensing this was the calm before something irreversible. A few players quietly reached out, not to criticize, but to ask how she was holding up. She replied politely, briefly, never about the situation. Then came the cliffhanger moment no one saw coming. Late one night, Nike quietly updated the campaign page. The teaser was gone. In its place, a countdown. No title, no explanation. Just a date, 2 weeks away, and a single line beneath it. Control was never the goal. The league office reportedly found out the same way fans did. Phones lit up instantly. Emergency calls flooded in. Sponsors demanded briefings. Teams worried about timing clashes. Rivals felt the floor drop out beneath them. Because this wasn't damage control. This was escalation on Caitlin's terms. The speculation turned feral. Was she about to speak? Was this a documentary? A statement? A departure from league partnerships? A redefinition of her role entirely? Every theory carried risk, and every risk pointed back to the same terrifying truth. The league no longer dictated the pace. Caitlin did. And then, one final detail slipped through the cracks. Buried in a financial report was a line item hinting at a structure never before seen in women's basketball. Player-controlled narrative rights tied directly to brand campaigns. No intermediaries. No league filter. Direct. If true, it would change everything. It would mean Caitlyn hadn't just broken records. She'd broken the framework. As the countdown ticked on, fans held their breath. Rivals second-guessed every public move they'd made. Executives scrambled to prepare for outcomes they couldn't predict. The noise grew louder precisely because she refused to add to it. And that's when it became clear. The real twist wasn't the Nike ad. It wasn't the panic. It wasn't the fallout. It was the realization settling across the entire basketball world. Caitlin Clark hadn't been reacting to the chaos. She'd been waiting for it to ripen. And whatever was coming next wouldn't just answer questions. It would force the league, the players, and the fans to confront one final, unavoidable choice. Adapt to a future no one controls, or watch it be rewritten without their permission.